Good evening. On behalf of the Florence City Planning Commission and the commissioners here tonight, I want to thank all of y'all for being here. It's special to us when we have this kind of attendance. This is the people's business, and when you're here, it helps us make better decisions, so thank you. The first item on the agenda is the invocation. And Mr. Moses, I'm going to call on you to do that, please. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Lord, for blessing us, for waking up this morning, to be in our right mind. Lord, we want to thank you for allowing us to be here to serve the citizens of Florence. Lord, we want to thank you and bless everyone that's here in this building today. Bless everyone that's out in the community. Lord, Lord, bless the world. So we have so much going on, Lord, but let's take our time. Take your time, and we'll look out for you. These are the blessings. That's in your name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Mr. Moses. Tonight we have a good-sized crowd. Thank you, and we have some operational things that we try to adhere to. And as we get to that point of the agenda, I'll certainly point those out. I do ask that there will be no discussions or trying to speak to one of the commissioners or someone from the audience to us. When we do have someone come forward to speak, I'll call you forward and you'll have to come to the podium. We memorialize this whole meeting so we can go back and get better at what we do and also keep track of what was determined. So we are not at the public hearing portion of this, but our next step or item on the agenda is to approve last month's minutes. The commissioners have received their packet. They've had a chance to read through the minutes.
Motion we approve it.
Mr. Moses.
Second.
Mr. McCoat, thank you. We have a motion and a second to approve the minutes as submitted. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Like signs nay. And ayes have it. Thank you, Mr. Moses. He's a man about business. All right. The first item, or the second item, is PC 2022-09. This is a request for sketch plan review of a townhouse development to be located on Alligator Road. The tax map number is 101-01-642. And I'll call on Mr. Cassidy. Good evening, sir.
Good evening, Drew. This is for a sketch plan approval for the Oasis Townhouse on Alligator Road. The vicinity map shows the vacant parcel is located along Alligator Road near Savannah Grove and Olivia Lane. The location map is a close-up view of the parcel. With the close-up view of the parcel, you have residential to the north, to the south, and also to the east.
Can you hear? I understand that Mr. Cassidy cannot be heard. Is the microphone?
The microphone is on my end.
Okay. Is anyone else having trouble hearing Mr. Cassidy? Okay. We'll turn that bad boy up. Sorry, Mr. Cassidy.
You're fine. Okay, I got you. The current zoning map identifies the parcel as planned development, surrounded by commercial general and neighborhood conservation 6.1 to the right. The future land use map shows that the property is zoned residential suburban. Residential suburban zoning is intended to provide for single-family development with a suburban character. And these are the townhouse standards. I'm not going to read everything.
Thank you.
According to section 1-2.8.2, residential and commercial users of the home standards, townhomes are permitted if it is demonstrated that they conform to the standards and requirements set out in section 3-8 .3.1 single-family attached and multiplex building standards. A minimum of 3 joint townhomes shall be oriented to each street adjacent to the development. All units must be established on single lots and so arranged to ensure the public access. Staggered front yard setbacks of adjoining buildings must not vary in their setbacks by more than 20 feet. Each unit may have one accessory building, which should be permanent construction with a minimum of 5 feet from all property lines and shall have a maximum floor space of 500 square feet. This is pretty much the latest sketch plan the applicant submitted. The Oasis Townhouse on Ellegrady Road, like I said, it has a residential suburban character. It's on 6.66 acres of land, which will have 12 buildings, which the total units will be 75, which will only go in one phase. The sketch plan meets the requirements of the Unified Development Ordinance. For a townhome development, according to the City of Florence Unified Development Ordinance, requires that all units must be established on a single lot to ensure public access. As such, townhome units may be initially established on separate parcels or must be designated to accommodate future subdivision of property as determined by the department. This sketch plan shows the ability to subdivide the overall parcel into individual units in the future to meet the City of Florence Unified Development Guidelines for townhome development. Following sketch plan approval, the developer will require to resubmit an up-to-date development plan for planning and engineering staff to review prior to construction. Other requirements of the City of Florence Unified Development Ordinance will be addressed during the development plan review. And these are the townhouse standards. According to the latest sketch plan that applicant submitted, they are in compliance in terms of the building setbacks. The front will be 15 feet from the property line, the rear will be 20 feet, and the sides will be 20 feet minimal between the buildings. And these are the site photos of the parcel. As you see, the parcel is pretty much undeveloped. And this concludes staff report.
Thank you, Mr. Cassidy. Do any of the commissioners have questions of staff? This does not require a public hearing. Sketch plan reviews are something that comes across our desk. In the process, there will be additional information required and submitted to the planning department that we will take I guess for lack of a better word, a harder look at. This is really kind of a rubber stamp, taking it to the next step. So if there are no further questions from the commissioners, I'll call for a motion.
Move for approval.
Okay, I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Moses. I have a motion, a second to approve as submitted. Any discussion? Good evening, Ms. Hines. Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Like signs nay, and the ayes have it. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Cassidy.
Thank you.
All right, PC 2022-10. This is a request to rezone 402 Thomas Road from NC 15 to NC 6.3. I will certainly call on Mr. Johnston. Good evening, sir.
Good evening, everybody. All right, so this is Thomas Road and Second Loop Road. Currently, this is a vacant lot. The owner owns this parcel and actually the parcel to the north. He didn't meet the deadline this month, but he'll probably come back next month to try to get the same rezoning for the parcel to the north to expand the land for what he wants to do, the multifamily apartments. The current zoning is NC 15, which is exclusively single-family detached homes. And he is wanting to rezone into NC 6.3, which allows conditionally townhomes, duplexes, multiplexes, and multifamily apartments, which is his desire moving forward. Future land use is consistent with the adjacent property of neighborhood conservation. Here's some site photos. The proposed NC 6.3 zoning would require multifamily construction to have a 25-foot buffer yard between their construction and the single-family homes adjacent. So they would have to put up the buffer yard. They would also have to put in a parking lot and some sort of amenity, a pool, a playground, or something to that effect.
Mr. Johnston, parcel to the north, it looks like it's treed and wooded. Is that part of his development as well?
That he will probably bring that for rezoning next month, and I think it is his desire to combine the two for the multifamily
Okay.
apartments. But at this time, we're strictly looking at this parcel.
As far as multifamily, is two-story allowed, even with a 20-foot buffer?
Two-story. Let's see. UDO prohibits a multifamily building within 100 feet of existing single-family uses from exceeding 2 stories. So it could be 2 stories, but not greater. And this whole parcel would be, 100 feet or less. So he would be capped at 2 stories for multifamily.
Okay, thank you.
This does meet the minimum requirements for the NC 6.3 zoning designation. The factors sort of affecting this land or this multifamily construction would be its adjacency to single-family detached homes along Thomas Road, so it is close to single-family residences. On the other hand, there is commercial development along Second Loop Road, and they would have to mitigate their use from single-family uses with the Unified Development Ordinance prescribed buffer yard that we spoke about. And here's just some site photos. You can see it's a vacant lot. To the right, you see some bushes that hedge it currently against the single-family buildings. You can see Second Loop Road. You can see single-family homes in the background on that. And then down the way, there's actually Thomas Road apartments. So the multifamily conditions, this talks about the Type C buffer yard, the minimums for apartments. We did get some feedback from the community with their desire that a single-family home would be built, and they're concerned about the number of roll carts already visible at the Thomas Road apartments. They're just worried that it's going to lead to more clutter coming down Second Loop and the visibility from Thomas Road. And that concludes staff's report.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. I think the good doctor here has a question.
Has this property ever come before this commission before to be rezoned?
I believe it has.
It has. And the outcome of that, Mr. Chairman, you remember that outcome? What was it?
It was turned down. And we had a large neighborhood contingency here that was very much against it.
Right. Well, the people I've talked to that have called me that are against it, as they were before. So it's the same zoning they wanted before. I think 2 people actually wanted the zoning. One person, I think, moved forward. One person was told it would never go through. And Paul Saunders owned this property beforehand, and then someone owned it after him. And one was actually came before this commission and denied, and I think Mr. Saunders had a soft no when they reviewed everything, and the community too did not want it. So obviously he's on the First Reliance Bank, so that was a pretty smart move. He's right around the corner. That's the only question I have.
I think it's a good question. Can the planning department tell us what has changed as far as then versus now?
Right. The Unified Development Ordinance, but also a new owner of the parcel.
Probably the UDO was a bigger influence, do you think?
That's right, and when anyone comes to us for a potential rezoning, we speak to them about the pros and cons of that, and ultimately the burden's on them to make their case to planning commission. So, you know, it is upon I guess the will of the property owner or the developer who may be serving as the agent for the property owner to come forward and make that zoning, and it is their right to apply for that.
I see.
The no doesn't stop at us, per se. It has to go through the process.
Yeah, I
To
understand.
ultimately make or break it.
And it has once before. Right.
That's correct.
Any additional questions? of
Yeah,
staff? Mr. Moses,
go
please.
back to one of your pictures there. There it is. There.
Yes, sir.
That's right across the street where they have those apartments house there.
Yes, sir, that's correct.
And that's
Side
on,
street.
That's on the
To,
same
to
corner.
the south, yes, sir.
It's on the same corner.
It is, yes, sir. It would be right across from this
In
proposed
fact,
development.
all he wants to do is do the same thing on that side, on this side.
Right, with greater conditions given by the Unified Development Ordinance than previously would have been required for that development. Yes, sir.
Okay, that was passed. How many years ago was that done? For him to build that there.
Yeah, I'm not sure. That development is actually, that lot or parcel is in the county, not inside city limits.
So the apartments are in the county?
That's correct, yes. That's not inside city limits. But it is directly adjacent to it, you know, across Thomas Road, but still a fronting second loop, yes.
Any further questions?
I have a question.
Yeah, please. Robbie?
For questions for staff, did I overlook a recommendation from staff?
There's not one.
Okay. All right. Just wanted to confirm for the members.
We pointed out some pros and cons of the
I saw that, but no recommendation. Thank you.
no direct recommendation. Yeah.
Another good question. All right. This one does involve public hearing, which means that I will invite several of you that are for this request and those that are against this request to come forward. The protocol is I'll ask for those against to come up first, one at a time, and you'll give us your name and at the podium. And we certainly invite anyone that is against this request to come forward. And any discussions will be at the podium and face toward the commissioners. So is there anyone that would like to speak against this request?
Sure, I'd like to speak against it.
Okay, you're going to have to come to the...
I had some back surgery and I'm not moving.
I tell you what, Mr. Fowler, won't you have a seat?
I'm good. My back surgery was 3 weeks ago, and I'm just about getting it back where I was before the surgery. So I hope it's going to improve.
I'm sure it will.
My name is Andy Fowler, and I live on Thomas Road, a little 6-unit patio home subdivision called Legacy Gardens. If I'm not mistaken, this lot is in question as part of Country Club Forest, is it not?
I'm not sure.
I don't know.
Maybe by proximity.
I think in the restricted covenants, all of the land along the east side of Thomas Road, I think is part of Country Club Forest. And this subdivision is probably 60 years old, and it was developed by Mr. Pendergrass and Mr. Postman. And they desired, and they told the people that built their houses there that they were protected by those restricted covenants. That were going to be single-family lots and single-family houses on those lots. And the person that lives next to this has got a single-family house, and this second lot is wooded. His neighbor is a single-family house, and they all knew that they were protected by those restrictive covenants. Now I know the time has passed and the covenants probably expired, but still, some of those people are still living there today. And I think it would just be a shame to put multifamily housing next to these single-family houses. Another thing, Second Loop Road, going into Pamela Street, cars come by there probably 50 miles an hour. Right now, we've got 6 units across the street from this property, another 12 right behind it, plus all the traffic coming through Thomas Road. And it's just, that congestion is going to be a traffic hazard. highway department's they're not gonna give them a road directly on the secondary road, so they got to come out to Thomas Road. And it's just gonna create a safety hazard for cars trying to get in and out of there. And I just think it's a bad idea. And any questions?
I was just going to say that one of our requirements is that we ask if there are any covenants, conditions, or restrictions on a property before we go through with this process. So if there is such a document, obviously that would matter, and we'd like to see that.
Well, you know, it maybe has expired. Again, that subdivision is close to 60 years old.
Yes, sir.
And maybe they didn't renew them, or maybe, I don't know, but that's something that you need to look into before you would approve anything.
Yes, sir.
Commissioner, do you have any questions for Mr. Fowler? I would like to, on the record, say that Mr. Fowler is a very reputable and very successful appraiser, and has done a great service to our community. And if anybody knows real estate, I would say it's Andy Fowler. Thank you.
Thank you, Drew.
Very much.
Appreciate that.
All right. Anybody else like to come forward against this? Okay, I'm going to give Mr. Fowler just a minute, and then you can come forward. Yes, ma'am. It's a great feeling, isn't it?
My name is Susan Canty.
I'm sorry, ma'am. What was your name again?
Susan Canty.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. I live on the corner of Cashel and Shandon,
Okay.
and we have a problem with people think it's I-20 or I-95 coming over the hill, and those people that don't want to go through 5 Points, they're coming through, cutting through, anything to avoid 5 Points. So we have speeders coming through the neighborhood and coming on Cashel. We don't need any more traffic. And then you've got, like he said, the carts out there. But people are cutting through, and we don't need any more people cutting through. Got grandchildren riding bikes, and children, and old people walking, and I'm just against it.
Thank you,
And
Ms.
I
Kennedy.
was wondering, is it zone city or county? Because the county had put a moratorium.
County's where the apartments are. This is in the city.
Okay. I'm still against it. But thank you.
I understand. Thank you so much for coming forward. I'm going to have to ask the ladies in the back to please not talk while we got this going on. I hear a lot of chatter back there. Thank you very much. Is there anyone else that would like to speak against? I have a gentleman with the green hat. You're welcome to come forward.
And Chairman, I do want to remind everyone that our city council still has us under the mask ordinance inside of the building. So,
Thank you for that reminder.
Yes.
Yes, sir. And your name, please.
My name is Jan, J-A-N, Bays, and I live at 422 Thomas Road, right across from the cul-de-sac. Okay. I moved here over 20 years ago, and basically no problems, but since some of the developments come in and all that stuff, and I've had a problem with flooding for years, and if I hadn't finally got to 10 years to get the city to come put a drain in and to build a berm in front of my house, which the contractor who built my house apparently didn't know that you put a house up and not down. But that also will affect what's going on, because when Senator Leatherman, I hate that he's gone, built those apartments down there, as part of that, I had to go down there personally make sure that the drainage was done, because the only way I have to pump water out of my yard, my neighbors and the next door, and it's been like this ever since we moved there, and 15 and 16, 2000, 4 foot of water in the backyard, under my house, under my neighbors' houses and all that, and it's because there wasn't proper drainage. There's still not proper drainage on this street. And you've noticed when you go in, it's down like this anyway, and it comes in right there, and it comes down where I live and all that. But my problem is it also is going to affect the value of the houses, and what they were talking about, the clutter. I walk every morning. My wife and I walk. We're retired school teachers and that, so we got that stuff to do. And when we walk by there, sometimes we almost get run over. Okay, bad enough with apartments, but that's in the county. Okay, can't do anything about that. But if you build something there, and a friend of mine is the neighbor right next to it, he lives in that single house, and it's going to be right on top of him. And it's just not going to do anything for the neighborhood. We fought this battle a long time ago. The gentleman was talking about what they did. I think the paper, he said, can you get a copy of it? We fought this battle a long time ago and got it, you understand, zoned so it would not be commercial and that you couldn't build like that. You can build a single house on it, beautiful, not a problem. You understand? But this thing, we don't want it there because it's going to be a hazard for traffic and all that, and drainage and everything. So that's why I'm against it.
Thank you, Mr. Dave. I appreciate that. Mr. Dave, any questions from the commissioners for him?
No,
I was asking them, but thank you very much for coming forward. All right, I think we have the, I'll allow one more. Yes, sir. And then we'll go on to those that approve it. I know. Thank you. Your name, sir?
Good afternoon. My name is Bruce Smith. I'm
Mr.
the
Smith, good
treasurer of
evening.
the Country Club Forest HOA. And I brought a petition that was signed by over 75 members of the association who are against it. Thank you, Mrs. Canty. I have brought a petition of over 75 of the residents in the subdivision that signed it are in objection to this change.
So do you concur that that is part of Country Club Forest?
Yes, and I have brought along a copy of the protective covenants and a copy of the Constitution bylaws of the subdivision that I will leave here. We operate by those. I know there's been a trend to put everything in the courthouse, but these are what we have been operating with for 30 years. I moved here in '84. I'm not from around here. I have a little bit of southern Wisconsin twang, but I moved into that subdivision in '89.
We're glad to have it.
And now I built a new home on the corner of Burris Road, which is at the end of Thomas, where everybody has to make a screeching turn. I wanted to read something that we hand out or used to hand out to all of the new residents. We make sure they get a welcome letter. We have a directory. We are very active subdivision. But it was written quite a few years ago, and it says in the early '60s, a group of investors purchased a small pine forest along Cashua Drive. And I'll skip ahead a little bit. In '65, the land was surveyed, roads planned, and so forth. A few years later, the Country Club Forest subdivision was outside the city, but the owners were told the area would be annexed into the city. To prevent the new owners and future owners, the developers had covenant restrictions in place that would protect the development. So it's like Andy Fowler was saying, everybody who's bought in there over the last 60 years understood that this was a protective covenants subdivision they were buying into. It went on to say, the covenants protects our property. On March 30th, '78, the Constitution was amended to include the purpose for the association to promote the enhancement and beauty and general living conditions of the neighborhood. And this is not doing that. And that's why we're in objection.
Mr. Smith, thank you.
It offends us in all aspects.
Do you by any chance know if the covenants and restrictions are still in date or out of date?
They're
Expired?
the ones we use, so they're in date.
I understand.
Okay.
That doesn't quite work, but I appreciate your answer. Thank you very much. I would love for the planning department to have a copy of that.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you very much for coming forward. All right, so I will now ask anyone that's in favor of this request to come forward, if you'd like. It's not required. If you'd like to speak on behalf of this. Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing portion of this and call for a motion.
A motion, we deny the request.
I have a motion to deny. Do I have a second?
Second.
Question.
We'll get to that after we call for comments. Okay, do I have a second? I'm sorry. Okay, I have a motion and a second to deny as requested. Mr. Moses has discussion, please.
Yes, the ordinance that you put out, I think we should let the city planning all look at that and all, and make sure before we make a final decision of that.
Now, what law are you talking about?
They know the copy.
Oh, the covenants.
Covenants he got there, and that the planning staff look at it, and so they can put it in, so we won't have to work. You know, it'll be covered from here on out.
Well, we're going to have to vote on the motion and second first, and if it fails, then we will ask for a motion again, and you can make that motion.
And what is the motion now?
The motion is to deny. We have a motion, a second, to deny multifamily use of that site. All right. Any other discussion? I'll call for the vote. All those in favor of denying this request, raise your hand, please. Okay, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, all those against, raise your hand, please. And we have one abstention, right? Okay. So we have 5 to deny, 1 abstain, and 1 against. Thank you. That is how the process works. Everybody was very cordial, and we enjoyed everyone having a chance to voice their opinion. All right. Excuse me?
My request for that be put in the records for the homeowners, so they wouldn't have that.
How does that work, Mr. Dudley, as far as it was in the discussion, it will show up in the minutes as in the discussions?
Sure. We're glad to file this and keep a copy of it in relation to this neighborhood. The planning department is typically not in a position to enforce restrictive covenants. However, the Planning and Enabling Act does require that if they are brought to our attention and there is something strictly against what is being proposed on that lot, we are unable to issue any zoning permits associated with that. So we don't typically so that means we don't typically research restrictive covenants, but if they are brought to our attention, then we have to get some clarification on it before we issue any zoning on it. So
You good with that?
I'm good with that.
Okay.
and we'll keep them on file.
All right. Have a good evening. All right. Next item is PC 2022-11. This is a request to rezone 24 acres located on Harmony Street from RG-3 to NC 6.3. The chairman has a conflict of interest on this item, and I will recuse myself. Mr. Hill here will sit in as acting chairman through this process, and as required, I will come out and sit quietly until that issue is discussed.
All right.
Thank you, Mr.
Yep. Thank you, Chairman Chaplin. I will recognize staff for a staff report on this matter.
Thank you. All right, this is a request to rezone 24 acres located on Harmony Street from General Residential 3 to Neighborhood Conservation 6.3. So here's an aerial view. To the north is the Dr. Eddie Floyd Tennis Center. To the west is Volcraft. This parcel is currently zoned RG3. It is the applicant's desire to build multifamily apartments. And the RG3, one of the requirements would be that they would have to build 40% of the total units would have to be single-family homes. It is their desire to build just multifamily apartments. So the proposed zoning that would permit that would be NC 6.3. Again, they would be required to put a Type C buffer yard between them and any residential uses not separated by a street. As you can see, pretty much everything surrounding. There's duplexes to the south, and then mostly single-family detached to the south and east. The Dr. Eddie Floyd to the north. And then future land use, it kind of leads into the parks and open space to the north, and then neighborhood conservation with the surrounding areas. Here's some pictures down Harmony Street of what it currently looks like. So it would have to meet the multifamily conditions for the apartments. Again, that would include the buffer yard requirement, the type C buffer yard, 25 foot in width, and it would have to include those plantings per 100 linear feet. So here are some apartment complexes that Invictus has done in Alabama. Appaloosa Run on the left and Lodges on Lincoln on the right. The current zoning was adopted with the 2018 Unified Development Ordinance and is in line with what is surrounding residential uses. Staff would recommend that it does get rezoning to NC 6.3 as requested based on mixed adjacent land use, single family residential, multifamily residential. You have some commercial, you have industrial, and also it's historic residential zoning. And then the UDO conditions to mitigate multifamily next to single family, and the parcel's so large that we think it could support its own character in the neighborhood. So that does conclude staff report.
All right, thank you for that report. The commissioners have any questions for staff?
I have one. Can you go back to that picture where it shows open space and parks and whatnot?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
So that's the way it's currently zoned, correct?
That is future land use.
Future land, okay. All
And I
right.
think it kind of, the tennis center kind of influenced the parks and open space, and then
Adjacent.
neighborhood conservation, so it's sort of split between future land uses.
Any other questions? Any other questions? All right. This matter requires a public hearing, so I will now declare the public hearing open. And just as before, I will ask anyone who is against the development to come up to the podium and speak. Yes, ma'am. State your name for the record, please.
Good evening. Can you hear me? My name is Jean Zollicoffer. I live at 1123 Patterson Street, near the dead end. I am here to express my strong opposition regarding the application to rezone Harmony Street, tax map number 00122-01054, from residential general 3, which is RG3, to neighborhood conservation 6.3, NC.3. I am for change and new development in our local community. However, it would be detrimental to this area. Nearly all residents in the Carver Heights community and its surrounding neighborhood are completely opposed to dwelling, such as the ones located on Dixie and Harmony Street. The majority of the single-family houses in Carver Heights and surrounding neighborhoods are privately single-family owned, with the intentions of passing it down to the next generation. And we take pride in the fact of the hard work our parents and legacy has left us to do so. Knowing this, we feel that this opportunity should be presented to the generations and future generations to be homeowners, not apartment owners. So this land should remain a residential general 3 or RG3. Changing it to neighborhood conservation 6.3. Now that was mentioned in the letter that I received. I've heard something about 6.2 lately. So I'm addressing what I received. will cause even more traffic and safety problems. It will decrease property value, increase regular trash pickups, parking for residents and their guests, storage space, and landscaping. The neighborhood feels that building duplexes and townhouses and single-family dwellings would be beneficial, especially to the property owners that are there already. Instead of putting that neighborhood conservation 6.3 NC63. Traffic and safety of pedestrians, residents are major areas of concern. Traffic jams are at the end of Flynn Street, Hartwell Street, Harmony Street, Bunch Street, and Alexander Street to enter the main exit, one of the main exits, which is Sumter Street and Darlington Streets. The local neighborhood traffic surges, during the morning and evening. This is going to impact the safety of the children walking to the bus stop without sidewalks. Also, parents taking their children to Carver School on Cashua Street and the Child Development Center on Sumter Street. Safety of the children playing in the streets when there is no ample play area. Small children as well as adults. As I was driving through the neighborhood, there was a resident there that had a little boy, just got a tricycle. There was no place for him to be with his little boy riding the tricycle except for in the street. I rode on down. We had teenage boys, and you know how they love basketball. The parents bought that basketball thing and rolled it to the edge. The children rolled it to the end of the street so they could play, bounce the ball in the street and hoop it in the thing. That's one thing that really bothers me. Property value is likely to go down in the area. As you know, these multifamily apartments are being built. They are the same as the single-family houses that are in the neighborhood. I was disappointed that some people, as I was searching the neighborhood and talking to various people, they did not know that the neighborhood was being rezoned. And I was trying to figure out why not. We have some elderly people in our neighborhood that's been there for umpteen years. They don't get out much, especially now with COVID and whatnot. And I counted 5 of those signs in that area. Only 5. But you have to remember that is a neighborhood community. It takes in Cumberland Drive, Patterson, Philadelphia, and beyond. So I went around and I talked to them and told them what was happening. Also, trash pickup. If you're going to have more and more of those buildings, with the trash pickup that we have now, which is not doing very well, we have the city little green trash cans. You get more and more tenants in there, you're going to have more and more and more trash. So, we have to solve that problem. Mainly, I was thinking about putting one of those big trash bins there in a closed-in area. And I said, why are there's so much trash? Because that bothers me too. And I go around picking up the trash and some of the neighbors and whatnot. It's because there is no ample place for trash. If you're going to have more people, you're going to have more and more trash. So with a big enclosed trash bin, that can hold the trash to be collected from all of these things you're thinking about building, you're going to have more than one scheduled date for that, because I can tell you that. I noticed that there's no storage where we have now, what we have now. Maybe your building will have it. So people want to store things, there's no storage, so they're putting it on the side of the building. Why? Because there's nothing available. If your place, hey, maybe you have that. As of now, the nearest trash bins are approximately 10 miles away from Harmony Street on Ebenezer Road. 10 miles. Now, you got to have a truck to haul that garbage.
Ma'am, we have a time limit here. I'm going to need you to...
I didn't see that. I was wondering if you were going to come.
Yeah, I've been timing you. We're hitting the limit.
Okay. All right. So now, and parking, we need parking for residents, and the guests should be marked up. Now, once again, I urge you to disapprove this proposed rezoning of the residential general 3, RG3, to neighborhood conservation 6-3, N6-3. If the property was rezoned, the door would be open for multifamilies with these problems. Remember, I'm for change, as all of you are, but I'm for good change for the residents of my community. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions? I'm reluctant to have one more person. You're on a very tight leash for time. But yes, ma'am, go ahead.
Good evening. My name is Maricia Cummings Cooper, and I wanted to make that distinction because my mother was the oldest living resident in the West Florence area. She died May 21st, 2020 at the age of 105. In that neighborhood, as Ms. Zalakoffa said, excuse me, there are senior citizens there, people who have bought those houses. My daddy purchased that house for Mr. J.B. Durant in 1952, the house that my mother lived on Alexander Street. So when we come up here, just as the others, there are concerns when you're talking about putting certain facilities in a residential neighborhood. Ms. Zalakoffa went around and she got 60, I think it's about 65 signatures. We couldn't get everybody because they weren't aware of what was going on. But I'm going to read through mine because when I get up, I tend to go too far. My property is directly across the street from the property that they are talking about putting these apartments on. I am opposed to rezoning the neighborhood from RG3 to NC63. I'm not opposed to progress. I'm a retired principal, teacher, educator, community leader. I am recommending that we build townhouses or duplexes, and I did a little research, and that would be NC62. Currently on Harmony Street, right now, there are 10 apartment units. Right across from my property, there are 6. My driveway on my property, across the street. And then as you go further down, there are 8. And then when you come back up towards my property, right next to it, when you saw that picture, there's a wooded area and you saw trash. We're right in that little, between that little wooded area. It passed my house. Right next to it is that wooded area. And when those folks in those duplex apartments or whatever they have down there now, those on the ground, they threw in overnight. No storage, no trash, no place to put their stuff, storage. When they move out or get kicked out, they haul their trash and throw it in that vacant area, that wooded area, and sometimes over on my property, which I've had to call William Schofield, who's on city council, who represents my district, to come in and have that removed. I would love to see townhouses or duplexes that would bring a positive effect to the neighborhood and to encourage home ownership. We are getting older. I am. My mom's passed on. But the younger generation, we're building these type of buildings and dumping them in there, and there's no place, like she said, to put their storage. And when this neighborhood is a vulnerable neighborhood as it is. When I say vulnerable, it's going to have an effect on the property value because the houses are older homes. I really encourage ownership for families, like building homes for them, townhouses or duplexes. That the area is presently zoned for single-family detached homes. If the zoning is changed to NC62, the developers can build townhouses and duplexes, but not those multi-family apartments that we see. NC63 would allow apartments which are multifamily, which is what we don't want. And it brings to mind as I ride through the neighborhood of West Florence, I don't want to even tell you the number of these on-the-ground apartments that we see that throw it up overnight in our community that we've lived in, our parents worked hard to pay for so that they would have a decent place to live. And it's the same with the ones today. So I do not agree, and I oppose it, and I hope that you all also oppose it. Thank you.
All right. Thank you for your comments. And now we will hear from anyone in the audience who is for this matter. Do we have anybody present to speak for it? Good evening. Please state your name.
Hi, my name is Rick Cavallari with Invictus Development. We're the proposer of the development for this area. I just want to be clear of a couple of things before we start on the zoning. We want to build multifamily on the site, but we're willing to work with the community to find something that's acceptable to everybody. It's a large piece of property. It's almost 25 acres. We feel like we can put kind of a tapered scenario where maybe we could have single-family homes in the front or townhomes, and then work our way to apartments in the back part of the property, away from the single-family, away from the existing homes that are there right now, and make it work for everyone. This is what we do. In the city of Orlando, we're in the area of Paramore, which is a black African-American area that we work with the city of Orlando. We built 211 units in that area, and they've built single-family homes all around the development that we built there, and it's upgraded that community substantially from what it was previously. We have built apartments in Selma, Alabama, where we've worked with the city. Selma's a historically poor area. We've worked with the city to build some apartments there that they were happy with, and we brought people from the community in to help design those apartments. So we'll work with the community. We feel like the way the zoning works in the city, in order to build multifamily, we have to have this NC 6.3 zoning. Multifamily is not allowed in the 6.2 zoning. So we'd like to set up a meeting with the community where we can come in, talk with you, develop a plan that both of us can be happy with. Because in my eyes, it's going to be difficult to get a developer to come in and build what you want to build. Now, we've talked to the city. They have a program, a down payment assistance program that we've used in other areas where they'll assist with the down payment on some of the single-family homes. And then we work with an African-American investor group that will come in and finance the construction of those homes, sell them back to someone who can qualify for that financing, and both the city and the developer gain in that case because they build it for less than they sell it for. The city improves their tax base, and then they allow someone who doesn't have the income to have a single-family home. So in my eyes, if we can work with the community and develop something that you're happy with, then I believe that it's kind of a win for everyone in this situation. because we build quality apartments. What we build are not apartments where the gangs come in or anything like that, or drugs. We have a zero tolerance policy with our property management. We have security cameras throughout the complex. We put ample dumpsters, and we monitor the dumpsters, so if someone's going to come out and drop their trash in the parking lot, they're going to be caught on camera. We notify them, warn them. If they do it again, they're gone. So we run a strict, the other thing about, and these are low income, these are 60% apartments, so it's 60% of median income, what we're proposing to build. So we're going to be using tax credits to build these, and that's a federal program where we sell the tax credits to an investor. And in the case of an Orlando, Truist Bank is our investor in that case. So they came in, bought the tax credits, they oversee the property. So they make sure that this property is well maintained. We have to report on a quarterly basis to them everything that happens. Now, I see everybody shaking their heads, but you have to keep an open mind that we work with communities. We'll do something that we feel is going to be favorable to everybody in this situation.
Okay. There's no comments from the audience. This is you're speaking to the commissioners, and that's the format of this meeting tonight.
Oh, sorry.
So it's okay. I'll open the floor with one question for you. What's your professional resume like for your business, for your company? What's your experience?
We have been an affordable housing developer in Victus for about 6 years. Previous to that, I have developed affordable housing with another company for about 12 years prior to that. And then I am a contractor, licensed contractor also. My partner is a Duke law grad who was in the tax credit with Raymond James for a number of years. And it's a woman, and she is pretty dedicated to doing the right thing for affordable housing for everyone. So we've been doing it for a number of years now, and she's also been in the affordable housing development for about 10 years prior to our company, and then we've been in business about 6 years.
Okay, thanks. Do we have any questions from the commissioners? Yes, ma'am.
Yes, has the developers made any attempts to contact any of the residents surrounding?
We have not as of yet. We are certainly willing to do that, and we talked to the city about that, about arranging a meeting, so that we certainly are willing to do that. I mean, we've done that in every occasion. In the Orlando situation, we actually had 3 community meetings prior to finalizing our site plan for the development. We've done one in Pinellas County, Florida, where we developed a whole village where it was all public housing previously, and we had put in a senior center, some townhomes, some apartments, so it was a combination. Okay. So we've done what we feel like we need to get, especially it sounds like the community here is involved in that area. I think it's important for us to involve the community in the decision making.
Yes, sir.
You said that you're willing to meet with the residents of this area prior to there being a rezoning?
Well, I think he said I think he's saying that prior to submitting a final plan, not to put words in your mouth, but
correct.
Prior to submitting a final plan of what you're going to do with this property,
correct,
you will make sure you meet with the community leaders.
Yes, and also, as I understand it, we have to go in front of city council twice. So between now and then, we certainly would want to meet with the community before that final zoning is approved and make sure that they're happy. Because if they're not happy, I'm sure they're going to come up and stand in front of city council and tell them we're not happy with what we're proposing. So
you're looking at possibly having a meeting with some of the residents?
Yes.
In the very near future?
Yes. One or more. I mean, I'm willing to spend as much time as necessary to have everybody happy with what's going on. And if we can't, then we won't pursue the project.
Right, because what I'm hearing is that they want the same protection for their property as the other group was looking for theirs in regards to property value and safety,
in their area as well.
And we understand that, and it's, you know, we feel like that we definitely be an asset to that community with what we would put in there. I mean, we build very nice housing,
Okay.
so.
All right.
Mr. Chairman, I have one question or comment. I kind of agree with you. I've only heard from a couple of people, and I had the pleasure of knowing Miss Cooper's mother. She was a fine woman, and Marissa too. We've served on a couple of boards together. My question to you is, if we vote on something tonight and they haven't even met with the community, how do we know what the community wants? You know.
Yeah. Basically what I was thinking when I made the statement
Right.
I made earlier.
That's
Do
right.
you want to? Do we want to get a staff opinion on that for the benefit of the commissioners? On, you know, if the zoning is approved as written, can the developer continue to make modifications to their
Well, the
site?
city council is going to look at us, Robbie, and say, I don't care what staff says. If we vote on something tonight and it passes and goes to city council, these folks don't have, you know, they've already
Well, you
incurred one hurdle. So I'll listen to that.
Before he said anything, can I say one thing?
Yes,
That's
please.
one thing. What I love to have improvement in west side, east side, Florence anyway. Some woods been there for quite a while. So you're not in a really big hurry to tear them woods up, am I right?
What do you mean a big?
Well, see, they don't grow up there for I know over 30 years. But what I'm asking you, can you go to this? Can you defer? Go to the community, talk to the people in the community, bring back what you have. You talk to the community and what they in favor of, and you in favor of, and bring it back to us. Can you do that?
I could do that, yes, but I can just tell you that I'm going to continue to pursue the 6.3 zoning because part of what I want to build there is multifamily. So if the community can't get on board with at least having a portion of that site be multifamily, you know, then I will not pursue the development.
I think they'll. If you come up with a good plan, I believe the community would love to have them woods developed.
Right.
I believe they would. I'm thinking about that part of West Florence need to be developed. And that all the woods need to go, even though we're tearing woods up anyway. But I think if you set up a meeting with the community, sit down and you want to build the single family in front, then build a apartment house in the back. I think that's a good idea. But you have to let them know that's what your plan is. Okay. That's
Okay.
That's okay with you.
I mean, I don't know what the procedure is to do that. I'm certainly willing to do that, meet with the community, and I don't
The
know if we
commissioners have the option to defer the matter another month, and they may choose to do that. So that's you would be back here on the next agenda. Next
Okay.
month's agenda.
And then in the meantime,
Just in April.
I mean, we had talked about potentially setting up meetings with the community, and we certainly would want to do that. So,
All right. If we're done with this speaker, I'm going to dismiss you. Thank you. I am going to close the public hearing and ask the commissioners for their will.
I'd like to make a motion that we defer this matter until next month's meeting.
Okay. So we have
Let's do it this way. Let's defer until he meet with the community, because they got set up dates and all. Because I don't know how long it's gonna take the community independently get together with them. Okay. But we hoping that 30 days from now they be able to do that.
I'll second that.
we have a motion and a second on the floor.
Question.
Yes,
I
ma'am.
think there have to be a definite time period with us as to when
One
they're
month.
coming back.
Yeah. So let's say 1 month. Yeah. So I think he said 30 days. So we'll commit to his 30 days in his original motion, and that puts us on the next agenda for April 12th.
That's right. And the procedure would be to defer it till next month, and if none of that has been fulfilled, then it could be the will to defer it again.
All right. So we have a motion. Any further discussion?
Have a second. We need a second.
He said.
Yeah, he seconded it.
No, it's a second.
And there being no further discussion, ask everyone to vote by hand.
Yeah,
Vote affirmative
For the deferment.
Yeah,
for deferment for the
Affirmative.
motion. All right, and anyone opposed? The motion passes, the matter is deferred. And thank you so much for your discussion tonight, and thank you to the commission members.
All right. That's for the community.
I'll turn it back over to Chairman Jackson.
Great job, Mr. Hill. Thank you very much. And commissioners, I commend you greatly. All right. Thank you. I left my glasses on the chair down there. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I'm blind in one eye, I can't see out the other. Okay. Again, I congratulate the commissioners and I congratulate our group here tonight. I love to see the community get together. The commissioners, when you get a unanimous vote, I think the job has been well done, and thank you. Okay, the next item is PC 2022-12. This is a request to zone NC10 pending annexation. Well,
You get the whole gang tonight.
y'all are just outstanding tonight. How are you this evening?
Very good, and I think mine will go a little easier than the last two.
You can only go one way.
It's pretty easy.
All right, this is a request to annex a single-family parcel and zone it to NC10. It is located, coincidentally, right next door to a parcel that was annexed about 3 months ago, because it just went through City Council, on Annell Drive, which is in Pine Forest. This is a close-up. The lot immediately to the right there was the one that was annexed just 2 months ago. And it's a single-family house, and everything around it on that side of the street is zoned NC10. Behind it is NC15, but obviously we would recommend NC10, and the lot meets that requirement. The future land use map designates it as in neighborhood conservation, so this is in keeping with the future land use as well. And here's a site photo of the house. As I said, it's a single-family house and is surrounded by the same. So that concludes staff's report.
I love it. Any questions of staff? Hearing none. This is a public hearing, and I will call anyone that's in favor or against to come forward if you'd like. Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing portion of this and call for a motion. Motion to approve. I have a motion and a second to approve is submitted. Any discussion? Hearing none. Gladly call for the vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye. The ayes have it. Nays? No nays. All right. PC 2022-13. This is a request to zone CG pending annexation.
All right.
Good evening again.
Good evening. This parcel is located at 3648 South Irby Street. It is a single-family house at the moment, and it is right next to Rosemount Drive, which is, I believe it's South Florence subdivision. And this is, but everything south of it is not in the city. The future land use calls for it to be neighborhood conservation, but right next to it is business park. This is the city zoning. As I said, it's NC 6.1 right next to it, but it's got the yellow star on it. Everything south of it, and this is what the county has it zoned as, is B3. And that is in keeping with there's several businesses next to it. It is next to a business park. It's on South Irby Street. It's over an acre lot, and the new school is being built across the street from it. So after talking with the applicant, the commercial designation seemed a little more appropriate for the location and the character of the area. And I did speak with the next door neighbor directly to his south, and he didn't have a problem with that. And I have not heard from anyone who lives in the neighborhood behind it. And as according to the Unified Development Ordinance, if it is developed commercially, they would be required to put in the 25-foot buffer between it and the single-family housing behind it. And this is a photo. It is an older house, and there is already a pretty heavy vegetation around the perimeter of the yard. And but as I said, the owner basically wants to rezone it, clean it up, and probably sell it. So that concludes staff's report.
Thank you, Ms. Lane. Any questions? Hearing none, I'll call, this does require a public hearing. Anyone in favor or against to come forward and speak if you'd like? Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing and call for a motion.
So moved.
Have a motion?
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve as submitted. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Like sign is nay, and the ayes have it. The next item, unfortunately, Mr. Howard, you did not win the lottery tonight, being the last one on the agenda. And I commend you for your patience, but I had to recuse myself on this one as well, and the Honorable Mr. Robbie Hill will conduct this one as well.
Thank you, Chairman Chaplin. This is PC 2022-14, request to review the installation of infrastructure for a new car wash to be located at the intersection of North Beltline and Hoffmeyer Road in Florence County Tax Map number 00099-01089. And for the purposes of discussion, I recognize staff.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate that. So this is the parcel. It's the corner of Hoffmeyer Road and North Beltline Drive. It's currently zoned activity center, and future land use is residential urban. This is the proposed subdivision of a portion of the parcel. It's currently 22.45 acres. They would like to divide it into 4 parcels. 1.29 acres will be the proposed site for Scrubby's Car Wash. That's Lot A. 1.18 acres will be the proposed private street that's platted out there to come off Troxel Boulevard, Hoffmeyer Road, and North Beltline Drive. A vacant lot with approximately 1 acre, which is the lot just to the south and east. And then 19 acres will remain undeveloped at this time for future development. So the proposed private street, here's a little site plan that includes the proposed Scrubbies. Site plan at this time, it hasn't come for commercial plan review yet. The reason for the Planning Commission is any subdivision that involves infrastructure, whether it be utilities or a new road, needs Planning Commission approval. So at this time, the street will remain private, as it is just serving this one commercial development at this time, and it does not contain any utilities. But it is going to be built to city standards, so that it is the applicant's intention to grant ownership of the proposed street to the city in the future. And as development comes on board, and which would necessitate utilities, the city will evaluate this option. And so future development may require additional city utilities depending on the size of the subdivision and what happens to the rest of the 19 acres. And other requirements of the City of Florence UDO will be addressed. This also has to go through development plan stage with staff approval, and then it will also be up for a final plat, which will get recorded at the county. So for this meeting, the Planning Commission is just voting on the new infrastructure, the private street.
Great.
And that does conclude staff's report.
Thank you for that report. Questions from the members?
You said we just voted on a private street and that's it?
Right, the building of the new infrastructure, which will be built to city standards and possibly one day taken over by the city as part of our street inventory.
Okay, where that street will come out at?
Oh, it connects Hoffmeyer Road, Troxel Boulevard. Troxel Boulevard, future plans are for it to actually connect all the way around to North Beltline Drive. So North Beltline Drive, Hoffmeyer Road, and Troxel Boulevard will all be served by this private street.
Okay. How far is it going to be away from that light there at Beltline?
Okay, let me see if I can see the little. I know that it will meet DOT standards for traffic safety. As far as the exact, hold on, I have an enlarged view.
These are good questions.
While you're looking there, the traffic intent would be to have one turn on Hoffmeyer. You can get back on Beltline, so that's probably why it passed DOT. I mean, I understand the question about the red light, but I mean,
Because now you got, I'm looking at the other car wash you got in Florence now.
Yeah.
You got one on the corner of Irby and Second Loop.
no, that's only one entrance. This has actually got, if you look at truck roll, it's probably got triple what that has.
But my opinion, I'm asking a question. How far is it from that red light?
It would have to meet the SCDOT arms manual for traffic safety, depending on traffic counts.
Yes, because see, we got the school there coming out. We got the pharmacy there. Then plus you got Walmart there. You got Sam's there. You got a lot of traffic there.
Oh, yeah, it's a busy street.
You see what I'm saying? I want to know how far is a turning lane going to be from that car wash that we can have?
The applicant is here, his engineer, Mr. Todd Walker. So
Okay.
if we want to get into the nuts and bolts,
I
maybe
guess
should bring
just
him
we
up.
need to answer this question. I'll ask a question while you're looking at that. The city, you're going to build it with adjacent water and sewer lines, or the developer will, or just
They actually-
the ability for you to add it later?
Yeah, they have water and sewer off of Hoffmeyer Road or North Beltline Drive, so there will be no utilities in this private
Mr.
street.
Moses, Mr. Moses,
Go ahead. I'm listening.
Yes, sir. So they have the option to get utilities off Hoffmeyer Road or North Beltline Drive. At this time, the private street does not require any utilities.
Okay, at this
In
time.
the future development, the city may have to
Okay.
come in and
All right.
inherit some utilities built by the developer.
Okay. So you're doing measurements over there?
Yes.
Okay. Any other questions while we're working on this answer?
Does it meet SCDOT standards?
That is the design.
If you can come up to the podium, sir. I'm sorry, Patrick.
Sorry, Mark.
Let the chairman run. I'm sorry.
We didn't need a public hearing, but apparently we need your help. So identify yourself for the
My
record.
name's Todd Walker.
All right, Mr. Walker.
And actually, to answer your question, we have met with DOT as far as the turning lane and the storage lane that exists out on Hoffmeyer Road.
Right.
Now, what is shown on the previous drawing there doesn't fully show the fact that the entrances are on Hoffmeyer is a right in, right out. So there's no cross traffic going across that turning lane or the decel lane. And that's the same thing for Beltline Drive as well. That's a right in, right out. So people taking a left can't take a left out on Beltline, and they can't take a left out onto Hoffmeyer Road. They would have to go down to the Troxel Road, which is a full entrance. So that actually will help out with the traffic control tremendously.
So in other words, you're going to put a concrete thing in the middle, keep from people that left.
Exactly.
And that's going to be the same thing on Beltline also?
Beltline is questionable right this second per DOT. There's no median right there, but I believe on a later revision we do have that dog bone pork chop that I hear called a lot of different things, but a raised concrete median. Yeah, that was the main concern there. And the other concern was if you notice the difference between this and anything, the other car wash that I won't name, their entrance is from the rear of the property, whereas the other car wash that's in town actually has theirs directly off of a main road, and that's what causes all the congestion. We've done several locations for Scrubbies, and almost every one of them has the entrance at the rear, and it alleviates and gives stacking not on a main road. So that would help. That's
Any other questions while we've got the developer? Okay.
It's gonna be on the corner, or it's gonna be a corner lot?
It is a corner lot, but the entrance isn't off the corner itself. It's off the rear of the property.
And so is the rear of the property going to be come off a Beltline?
Well, actually, no. The entrance will be off of the private road. The only entrance will be at Beltline and on Hoffmeyer, but the entrance to the actual out parcel is going to be off of that private road.
So you can build up that side road, that little driveway, that walkway they got there, you gonna build that up? That's gonna be built up?
So the sidewalk, we'll have to raise that. There's a little bit of a grade difference there. You're exactly right. Haven't got into the civil portion of it yet with the grading portion. So that sidewalk may have to be raised because there is too steep of an area right there.
I've been there looking at it.
Do you have a question? Go ahead.
Okay, so to be clear, tonight we just really voted on this street, right? Is that what it is?
It's
The
private
road. Private street.
Yes, ma'am.
That was it.
Oh, okay.
All right. Thank you. You're excused. Thanks. All right. Any more questions or discussion? Do the commissioners have a vote?
I recommend we approve it.
We have a second. All right. Any discussion? All right. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Like sign. The matter passes. Congratulations. And I will gladly turn this back over to Chairman Chaplin. We seem to get the most lively discussions.
Thank you, Mr. Hill. Okay, we're into other business, and we got you on the clock.
Yes, thank you. In front of you are the draft chapters of our proposed comprehensive plan. I've been promising those for some time. I did want to provide Planning Commission. Those are hot off the press.
Wow.
We've handed them out to staff. Obviously, Planning Commission, City Council members have some of these documents. So we would appreciate your review and input on this as we work towards a final draft version of the comprehensive plan that will hopefully come before Planning Commission. The goal is May to come before Planning Commission. So please get me your comments as soon as possible so we can get it back to the consultants and get some feedback. And
all right.
That must have put us on the clock.
That's right.
I want to say one more time, I'm very, very proud of our commission. We have worked well together. We asked very succinct and great questions, and I think we got great results tonight. And so thank you all. My hat's off to you. All right. See y'all next month. Mr. Moses, please. I about made a mistake there. Mr. Moses, what's next?
I make a motion that we adjourn.
Amen, brother.